This is World Comics Review, and it's time for a screen captured video. Yep, as I'm going to cover every kind of comic under the sun, I better look at a webcomic. Although this isn't really a webcomic, it's just a comic someone happens to have scanned in. Don't worry, I'm not going all high seas on you. So recently, this video came out. It's kind of a long documentary about the history of the furry fandom. And I don't actually mind furries, although given my comments on the recent CG Ladies Night, you might be wondering about that. So anyway, one of the first and best self-consciously furry comics was called Albedo Anthropomorphics. So it was created by Steve Galacy from 1983 to 1989. More on this picture later. And yeah, the main story, although yeah, it also carried Usagi Yojimbo a little bit, which is now vastly more famous. But the main story was called Erma Felna of the EDF, which is this character. She's kind of like a cat who pilots a troop transport in a science fiction setting, and she ends up getting wounded in a battle. So this comic was only ever had a small print run. It's extremely rare now, especially the first 3 issues, 0, 1 and 2. Apparently 3 and onwards are a bit more common. So how can you read it? Well, fortunately, Steve Galacy has uploaded it all to his website. So you have to just go to stevegalacy.com and then you go over here and click on pages and oh dear. Right, don't worry about that. So how to get to Erma Felna. We have here the very last uploaded page of Erma Felna, which is one of the world building notes pages. So click on that. Wait for it to load. Right, so now we have erase the date. Right, just delete this. So stevegalacy.com/archive/EDF. Go to this. And we get the complete gallery eventually. So this was where Irma started back in 1979 in Hazar. Just a small one-off comic. I don't think there even was furry conventions then, but there was furry room parties at sci-fi conventions, so I guess this is where this was sold. And yeah, this fight between the Republic, which is many different species, and the Rabbit Empire, which is just rabbits, as you can see. So a transport ship arrives, traffic control don't suspect anything, and then the rabbits burst out and start attacking people. And this is a Hazar. There was apparently only one issue of that, or only one like prototype story anyway. And then there's kind of a spoof advert in issue 0 of Albedo, and then in Albedo issue 1 the actual story begins. So yeah, basically a remake of that first Hazar story, this time from 1984. Oh, it's as old as I am. Yeah, considerably better artwork this time. And yeah, the Rabbit Empire lands on this planet and takes it over, and Irma is a crew member on one of the ships. So the space combat in this story is kind of a bit like The Expanse. The ships are kind of funny shaped, and these ones actually have the engines, or the exhaust at least, is at both ends, and the decks are arranged this way around, so the gravity is the direction you're facing. The direction you're flying is the direction of the gravity inside. And when they fight, they just launch hundreds of missiles, and then launch hundreds of countermeasures and hope that their countermeasures are better than the other side's. And Irma is a pilot of one of these troop transport ships, so she's supposed to just be dropping off tanks and troops in the city while they're fighting, but she ends up with her ship getting damaged, so she ends up fighting in the battle herself, and yeah, surprises some of the... Are these rabbits? They look like mice, actually. Okay, maybe the attackers are pirates and not the Rabbit Empire. Anyway, basically she ends up getting wounded. But luckily they're very heavily armoured spacesuits. Right, so let's skip over a bit so this doesn't take too long. Right, she gets wounded, and then her being in combat kind of causes a bit of a political controversy. So either a woman or a cat who's also a woman being involved in direct combat is kind of controversial. So they ship her off, they give her a promotion, but ship her off to some backwater planet where nothing much is going on. So she's off on this planet, and some pirates who are backed by the rabbits are attacking some mining stations, and they've gone and put mined life support packs on the unconscious crew. So the crew have to go in and defuse the mines and then save the crew, but they can't save everybody, so they have to sacrifice some people. And obviously you killed some helpless people because you couldn't save them all, because it makes good propaganda for the rabbits. And there's a lot of background information as well, and there's even a they speak English, but they use a different alphabet like the Oribesh in Star Wars. So yeah, there's all the background writing is in this alphabet. And yeah, so then somebody plants a nuclear bomb on Irma's planet, and there's not enough time to defuse it, so she gets a sniper to just shoot the bomb with a high-powered rifle, which blows it to bits and sends the radioactive material out as dust. So a small area is made radioactive, but it's better than blowing up the whole city. And there's more political intrigue with in the Republic, the so-called good guys. Well, this is kind of like Legend of the Galactic Heroes, where the good guys aren't really good and the bad guys aren't really bad. And we do jump to one of the rabbits a bit later, who doesn't want to be in the military or go to a war, and there's warmongers in the Republic who are trying to oust the peaceful people by assassinating some of their own politicians, including ones on the planet where Irma is. So there's rioting and the city splitting apart. Yeah, rioting, infighting, blaming the rabbits, trying to start a war, but Irma manages to defuse the situation, and then they are flying in space. Oh, she's retransferred again. So yeah, they're flying in space and they find a mysterious spaceship. Oh yeah, they do have faster than light travel, but it works. They're kind of teleporting instantly to another star system, but they can't do the teleportation anywhere near a planet or a star because it'll rip their ship apart. So they have to use more conventional fusion type nuclear rockets and fly for months and months to get away from a star system before they're able to make the jump, which is then instant, and then fly for months and months more back into another star system. And they find a mysterious, highly advanced but thousands of years old spaceship, which is controlled by humans. We'll see when the page loads. So they find a human on board the spaceship, and the backstory says that the animals were just kind of trundling along. They had a really high-tech society, but they never thought about the past or the future. They just kind of kept on keeping on like robots. And then eventually one of them went to his doctor saying, "I'm having thoughts about what I'm going to do next winter." And that kind of created an awakening in their society. And they measure their dates from the date of the awakening, but they always had space travel and stuff, so it's kind of, they started with it. Oh, this is an interesting cover. So here we have Erma Felna, the graphic novel, which I don't think actually exists. Some magazines, some discs, and this is actually the set of Star Trek: The Next Generation. This is the seats they used. So yeah, visited the Star Trek Next Generation set and put a little cameo in it. So yeah, more Irma goes on holiday with the guy she's fallen in love with. And So this was the last issue of Albedo Anthropomorphics, and then we have the new Albedo published by Antarctic Press, who used to do a lot of furry stuff before they became what they are now. Less said about that the better. So yeah, the new Albedo continues the story. More political intrigue, secret warmongering, and also kind of a secret society with possibly psychic or Jedi-ish powers, mind connections between family members, even though they're thousands of light years apart. And Irma has this power too. So yeah, this is the most iconic cover image. This multi-species furry universe, like a lot of furry stories are, but they've kind of toned down the size difference. So mice are only about a quarter of the size of elephants, otherwise it would be kind of ridiculous, especially as they're all serving on multiracial crews in spaceships. So here's some more space action, political intrigue, blah blah blah. This is the section with one of the rabbits. Yeah, there's warmongers in the Republic who are fighting each other, but the rabbits are hardly peace-loving either. They're mostly the aggressors, but not always. And yeah, Irma becomes the commander of a full-size spaceship instead of just a troop carrier after her preventing the war. More space fighting, and yeah, she finds out that her ship is being sent into an extremely risky mission, but one of the warmongers in the Republic has sabotaged her ship, and they have hardly any ammo for their weapons, even though they're going on a reconnaissance mission into the Rabbit Empire. So they're kind of hoping that her ship will be destroyed, and then that'll be calls for war, like we sent an unarmed ship accidentally strayed into your territory and you destroyed it, but we've analysed the wreckage and there was no depleted uranium shells on board, so they were unarmed. Anyway, so the war does actually start, and some orbital strike weapons are used, which wipes out Irma's home city, and some of her family die, but her child, her young brother, I read this quite a long time ago. Yeah, you think her entire family are dead, but some of them survived, but she's hundreds of light years away on the secret mission, so has to deal with that at a distance. And we see some of the space battles. So the ACVs are kind of like the intelligent guided missiles. They fire hundreds at one ship. This ship has to launch its own and then spray with machine guns. Some of the ACVs are destroyed, some aren't. And yeah, Irma's ship gets a gigantic hole blown through it. That might have been an earlier battle actually. Oh, you know, Albedo Colour Special, which is another redrawing of the first story, but this time in colour. So yeah, there was some colour too. But mostly the story continues in black and white. Oh, actually, okay, whoops. Okay, so they remade the first story, but then the main story did switch to colour for a while. And at one point Irma was on a more kind of totalitarian planet, disguising herself and pretending to be a normal labourer and hiding from the secret police until she was finally able to escape. Then the comic was renamed Refractions, and the story continued again. I guess this is the Refractions in their alien language. Okay, then it became Albedo Volume 3. Yeah, kind of a confusing publication title. Right, and when they captured the human ship, it had a far more advanced fusion-powered device, which was meant to be the engine, but the warmongers in the Republic turn it into a weapon instead. So, powerful laser-type particle beam weapon, which just gives the warmongers even more of a reason to make more preemptive strikes against the Rabbit Empire. We can destroy their ships, and they can't stop us now. So yeah, carries on much the same. We get a look into Irma's future too. They use the beam weapon on a one of the rabbit ships, and we get the sympathetic rabbit characters too. And yeah, the Republic uses their weapon against the rabbit ship and kind of dissolves half of it. So yeah, half of the rabbit ship gets dissolved, and on the far side of the ship, the survivors are still there, but the life support's finished, and they have to end up shooting each other, or shooting themselves rather than suffocating to death. So yeah, it gets pretty grim even for the other side. And yeah, carrying on, more missions in the space war. Attacks on civilian mining stations again. And that's where it ended. So the story was left to be continued back in the 1980s, but so far no progress. And yeah, like I said, there was Albedo Command Review, which alright, so yeah, he's thinking about an online version first, then a hard copy. Everyone's got the same avatar, I can't. Right, so yeah, he's hasn't made any new Albedo since the 80s, but he's considering it, and hopefully we'll get a big, full and complete graphic novel one day. Apparently the command review was missing some pages, I had some in the wrong order. So yeah, hopefully we will have some more Albedo, and eventually one big book with a complete story. Go on, Indiegogo it, you know you want to. While the comic is kind of paused for 30 odd years, the Albedo universe is continuing as a tabletop wargame. I think there's actually been 2 or 3 tabletop wargames based on Albedo, but this is the current one, which was kickstarted, and there's actually a Erma Felna figure you can get for it, a limited edition, I assume. And yeah, there's the Kickstarter included this big kind of subway map, so you play as I guess you play as the Republic soldiers, and the rabbits do small-scale terrorist attacks on civilian places. There's even civilian characters. The Republic soldiers have to fight the rabbits, much like the beginning of the first story. So yeah, that's our Albedo Anthropomorphics. So it might be furry, that might put some people off, but it's a really good read, honestly. So go over to SteveGalacy.com today and check it out. It's pretty long, but pretty good, and you can really get sucked into it.